We live in an age of noise, an age of reaction. A notification flashes and our pulse quickens. A driver cuts us off and rage boils in our chest. An unexpected email from our boss arrives and anxiety grips our mind. We are tossed about day after day by forces we cannot seem to manage. We feel, in a word, powerless, slaves to our own emotions, slaves to external events. But what if this isn't the default human condition? What if there existed an ancient, battle-tested operating system for the mind, a system designed not to suppress emotion, but to understand it, not to avoid difficulty, but to thrive in it? What if true freedom wasn't about changing the world around you, but about mastering the world within you? This system exists. It is called Stoicism. And for over 2 millennia, its principles have been forged in the most extreme conditions imaginable. It was practiced by an emperor who ruled the known world from a war-torn battlefield. It was taught by a statesman who advised a volatile tyrant while secretly preparing for his own death. And it was perfected by a slave who found freedom even while his body was in chains. An emperor, a statesman, a slave. Today we are not just learning about philosophy. We are embarking on a deep 5,000-word masterclass into the 7 Stoic rules that can fundamentally rewire your mind. This is not a quick fix. It is a guide to mastering your emotions and, in the process, finding true, unshakable inner peace. This is the path to the inner citadel. Grave, profound, and wise. Like a seasoned historian or a philosopher delivering a master class. The tone should be inspiring, contemplative, and deeply authoritative. When historical figures are quoted, the voice should shift slightly, as if reading from an ancient, sacred text. Our first guide on this journey is Epictetus. His name literally meant acquired. He was property. Born a slave in the Roman Empire, he was owned by Epictetus, Nero's cruel secretary. Legend tells us that one day Epictetus, perhaps in a fit of cruel boredom, began to twist Epictetus's leg. Epictetus, rather than screaming or begging, simply looked at him calmly and remarked, "If you continue, you will break it." Epictetus continued. The bones snapped. Epictetus's only response was, "I told you it would break." This story is the brutal physical embodiment of the first and most fundamental rule of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, from the very bottom of the social ladder, realized a profound truth. He said, "Some things are within our control, others are not. Within our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Not within our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in a word, whatever are not our own actions." Epictetus's leg was not in his control. His master's cruelty was not in his control. His status as a slave was not in his control. To waste energy raging against these facts was, in his view, a form of self-imposed madness. But his response to the pain, his judgment about his situation, his will to maintain his dignity, those were entirely his.
While his master owned his broken body, he could never touch Epictetus's mind. In the only way that mattered, Epictetus was free. Now, look at our modern lives. You received that email. You are being laid off. This event is not in your control. The economy is not in your control. Your boss's decision is not in your control. The untrained mind immediately panics. It catastrophizes. My life is over. I am a failure. How will I survive? This is mental slavery. The Stoic mind, the mind trained by Epictetus, stops. It applies the dichotomy of control. The event itself is external. I cannot change it. But my response is internal, and I own it completely. Instead of despair, the Stoic chooses action. I will update my resume. I will contact my network. I will treat this as an opportunity to find a better path. I will endure this with dignity. This is not passivity. It is the surgical application of focus. It is the conservation of all your energy for the only battlefield where you can actually win, your own mind. Do not waste a single second of your precious life worrying about what you cannot change. Grave, profound, and wise, like a seasoned historian or a philosopher delivering a masterclass. The tome should be inspiring, contemplative, and deeply authoritative. When historical figures are quoted, the voice should shift slightly, as if reading from an ancient, sacred text. If Epictetus teaches us to accept what we can't control, our second guide, Marcus Aurelius, teaches us to love it. This is perhaps the most difficult and beautiful concept in all of Stoicism. Amor, Fati, love your fate. Marcus Aurelius was the last of the 5 good emperors. He was a philosopher king who wanted nothing more than to study and serve his people in peace. But fate had other plans. His reign was defined by relentless, brutal war on the Germanic frontier. It was shattered by the Antonine Plague, a pandemic that killed millions, including his own co-emperor. It was betrayed by his most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, who declared himself emperor and started a civil war. Marcus was surrounded by death, betrayal, and chaos. He had every reason to curse his destiny. Instead, from that cold, damp tent on the edge of the world, he wrote this to himself. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read that again. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is Amor Fati. It is not just acceptance. It is not making the best of a bad situation. It is an active, joyful embrace of everything that happens as if you had chosen it yourself. The plague? It is an opportunity to practice courage and serve the public good. The betrayal of his general? An opportunity to practice forgiveness and clemency, which he did. The endless grinding war? An opportunity to practice his duty as protector of Rome. He did not tolerate his fate, he loved it. He saw every obstacle as a new piece of fuel for the fire of his character. How do we apply this? You suffer a devastating breakup. You receive a terrible diagnosis. You fail at a business you poured your life into. The initial reaction is, why me? This is resistance. This is suffering. Amor Fati is the shift. It's the profound, powerful choice to say, this has happened. It is now a part of my story. It cannot be otherwise. Therefore, this is my path. This obstacle is my fuel. This breakup will teach me resilience. This diagnosis will teach me the value of every breath. This failure will be the foundation of my next success. It is the ultimate alchemy. It turns the lead of suffering into the gold of virtue. It is the mindset that makes you invincible, because nothing can be bad if you decide to see it as necessary and therefore good. Grave, profound, and wise, like a seasoned historian or a philosopher delivering a masterclass. The tone should be inspiring, contemplative, and deeply authoritative. When historical figures are quoted, the voice should shift slightly, as if reading from an ancient sacred text. Our third guide is Seneca the Younger, a brilliant writer, a powerful statesman, and one of the richest men in Rome. He was also the personal tutor and advisor to the most dangerous man on earth, the young, volatile Emperor Nero. Seneca lived his entire adult life in the shadow of a tyrant. He knew that at any moment, on a whim, Nero could, and eventually would, order his death. How does one live with such knowledge? How does one function, create, and lead? Seneca did it by practicing the third great Stoic rule, Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. In our modern culture, we treat death as a taboo. We hide it. We fear it. We act as if we have an infinite amount of time. The Stoics saw this as the ultimate delusion. They saw death not as a source of fear, but as a tool for profound clarification. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time." Let us postpone nothing. That is the power of Memento Mori. When you truly internalize that your time is finite, it strips away the trivial. You are afraid to start that business? Memento Mori. In the face of death, what is the risk of mere financial failure? You are holding a petty grudge against a family member? Memento Mori. Will this argument matter on your deathbed? You are wasting your evening scrolling through meaningless content. Memento Mori. Is this a worthy use of a day you will never get back? When the day finally came and Nero's soldiers arrived to order Seneca's suicide, his friends and family broke down in grief. Seneca, however, was calm. He gently chided them, asking where their philosophy had gone. He had been practicing for this moment his entire life. Death was not a surprise. It was simply the end of a deadline he had always known was coming. Steve Jobs, in his famous Stanford address, echoed this perfectly. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the best tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything just falls away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering death is the secret to finally starting to live.
Memento Mori is the visualization of the ultimate end. But what about all the smaller misfortunes of life? What about losing your job, your reputation, or your comfort? For this, the Stoics, and Seneca in particular, practiced Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. This sounds morbid, but it is, in fact, one of the most powerful psychological tools for building resilience and, paradoxically, for cultivating gratitude. Seneca, though one of Rome's richest men,
would regularly set aside several days to practice poverty. He would eat the simple food of a peasant. He would sleep on a hard mat. He would wear his plainest clothes. Why? He explained it himself. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" The purpose was twofold. First, it was a rehearsal for misfortune. By intentionally experiencing discomfort, he was vaccinating his mind against the fear of loss. He was proving to himself that if he did lose all his wealth, he would be fine. He would survive. This stripped the fear of poverty of its power. Second, it cultivated profound gratitude. After a few days of hard bread and a cold floor, his normal bed felt like heaven. His regular meal felt like a banquet. He didn't just know he was fortunate, he felt it in his bones. We can do this today. You don't need to sleep on the floor. Just take a moment. Visualize in detail what would happen if you lost your job. Your car breaks down. Your internet is cut off. Don't just think that would be bad. Think it through. How would you actually cope? You'd call a friend. You'd take the bus. You'd use the library's computer. You would manage. You would adapt. Then open your eyes. Look at your car keys. Feel the warmth of your home. Appreciate the magic of your internet connection. By strategically visiting a negative future in your imagination, you return to the present with a renewed, vibrant appreciation for what you have. You have defanged your fears and multiplied your joy.
Grave, profound, and wise. Like a seasoned historian or a philosopher delivering a master class. The tone should be inspiring, contemplative, and deeply authoritative. When historical figures are quoted, the voice should shift slightly, as if reading from an ancient, sacred text. Let us return to Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome. Imagine the stress. Imagine the number of people demanding his time, the endless petty disputes, the political backstabbing, the crushing weight of responsibility for an entire empire. How did he stop his mind from shattering into a million anxious pieces? He practiced a meditation we now call the view from above, or Plato's view. In his meditations, he commands himself to do this repeatedly. Look down from above on the countless herds of men and their countless solemnities, and the myriad-sided journeying in storms and calms, and the differences in those being born, coexisting, and passing away. Look, too, at the life lived by others long ago, and the life that will be lived after you, and the life now being lived in barbarous nations, and how many do not even know your name, and how many will quickly forget it. This is the ultimate ego killer. You were just insulted by a colleague. You are stewing in anger. Now, take the view from above. Zoom out. See your city, your country, the continent. See yourself as a tiny speck on a pale blue dot orbiting a nondescript star in a minor galaxy. Now, how big is that insult? How important is that person's opinion? This practice doesn't make your problems disappear. It puts them in their proper scale. It shows you the vast, interconnected tapestry of existence and the minuscule, temporary nature of your own personal drama. It is a spiritual antidote to the poison of ego. It grants you perspective, and with perspective comes peace.
grave, profound, and wise, like a seasoned historian or a philosopher delivering a master class. The tone should be inspiring, contemplative, and deeply authoritative. When historical figures are quoted, the voice should shift slightly, as if reading from an ancient, sacred text. This next rule is the central pillar of the entire Stoic temple. It is the most difficult, the most radical, and the most liberating. Virtue is the sole good. What does this mean? The Stoics believed that all the things we chase in life, wealth, health, reputation, pleasure, even life itself, are not good. They are indifference. They are preferred, certainly. It is better to be healthy than sick, rich than poor. But they have no bearing on your happiness, your eudaimonia. They cannot make you a good person. The only thing that is truly good is virtue. The only thing that is truly bad is vice. What is virtue? The Stoics defined it by 4 key components. Wisdom, the ability to see reality clearly, using the dichotomy of control. Justice, the desire to act fairly and with kindness towards others. Courage, the strength to do what is right, even when it is hard. Temperance, the moderation and self-control to avoid excess. That's it. Your character is the only thing that matters. The ultimate example of this was not an emperor or a slave, but a statesman, Cato the Younger. Cato was Julius Caesar's greatest political enemy. He was the unshakable moral compass of Rome. When Caesar sparked a civil war and marched on the city, the other senators fled, made deals, or joined him. Cato refused. He saw Caesar as a tyrant who would destroy the republic. Caesar, who respected Cato, repeatedly offered him a pardon. He wanted Cato's moral stamp of approval. All Cato had to do was bend his principles just once. It would save his life. It would protect his property. Cato chose death. He took his own life rather than live in a world where his principles were compromised. To us, this seems extreme, but to a Stoic, it was perfectly logical. Life is a preferred indifferent. Virtue is the sole good. Cato refused to trade the sole good for a preferred indifferent. How does this apply to us? It asks you, what is your definition of a good life? Is it your bank account, your job title, the number of followers you have? These are indifferents. They can be taken from you at any moment. Or is it your character? Are you honest? Are you brave? Are you kind? Are you disciplined? If you make this your goal, you are truly free. Because your character is the one thing that no one can ever take away from you. It is 100% within your control.
This brings us to our final rule. It is the one that ties all the others together. If virtue is the goal, how do we practice it in the world? The Stoics called it sympatheia, the deep cosmic understanding that we are all connected. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wasn't just writing about war. He was writing about people, the foolish, irritating, ungrateful people he had to deal with every single day as emperor.
He could have been a tyrant. He had absolute power. Instead, he wrote this: "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, and that we were born to work together, like feet, like hands, like eyelids." This is sympatheia. We are all parts of a single larger organism. We are all bees in the same hive. What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Hurting another person is, in a very real sense, hurting yourself. The person who insults you, they are not evil, they are ignorant, they are mistaken about what is good. Your job is not to hate them, your job is to instruct them, or, if you cannot, to tolerate them, to act with justice and courage, even when they act with malice. This is the Stoic foundation for kindness. It is not a soft, sentimental compassion. It is a rational, profound sense of duty to our fellow man, rooted in the understanding that we are all one. This is the final step. You use the dichotomy of control to find what you can change. You use Amor Fati to love your fate. You use Memento Mori to find your purpose. You use Premeditatio Malorum to build resilience. You use the view from above to gain perspective. You use virtue as your North Star. And you practice all of it through sympatheia, through service to the human family.
Grave, profound, and wise. Like a seasoned historian or a philosopher delivering a master class, the tone should be inspiring, contemplative, and deeply authoritative. When historical figures are quoted, the voice should shift slightly, as if reading from an ancient, sacred text. The 7 Stoic rules are not a list of ancient trivia. They are a complete, cohesive, and revolutionary system for living. It is a system that was tested by an emperor at war, a statesman facing a tyrant, and a slave in chains. They teach us that freedom is not found in the external world, but in the internal one. They teach us that our emotions do not have to rule us. They can be our guides if we apply reason. Stoicism is not a philosophy you read. It is a philosophy you do. It is a daily practice. The journey is not easy. It is the work of a lifetime. But the power to begin is, and always has been, entirely within your control. The power to live a tranquil, virtuous, and truly meaningful life is not out there. It is right here, right now, in your very next thought, in your very next choice. Start today.